यूनिट 3 से। ब्लॉक 2 का यूनिट 1 और 2 हो चुका था, इनहेरिटेंस पॉलीमॉर्फिज्म। यूनिट 3 में क्या है देख लेते हैं। इधर यूनिट 3 ब्लॉक 2 का एसर्शन, एनोटेशंस एंड एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग, ये है यूनिट 3 के chapters. Assertion and its use, annotation, built-in Java annotation, exception handling, checking and uncheck exception using try, catch, and finally method to handle exception. Throw and throws, final and finally versus finalize, user-defined exception summary. Yes, this is again the important concepts, again the important topic which is asked in, like, which had asked many time in exam. ओके अभी हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं इसका सिंपल यहाँ से देख के, ठीक है। चलो तो इसमें क्या है, एसर्शन क्या है, ठीक है। दोज हु आर एब्सोल्यूट बिगिनर्स लाइक मी, उन लोगों के लिए ये फर्स्ट टाइम है तो उन लोगों को पता नहीं होगा, इसलिए ये कंसाइज वे में विद एग्जांपल के साथ मैंने यहाँ पे क्यूरेट किया है। सो असर्शन, एनोटेशन एंड एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग इन जावा। असर्शन, assertion used to test and verify assumptions made by developer while coding. Assertion used to test and verify assumptions made by developer while coding, helpful during testing and debugging based on requirement. Okay, not frequently used but important for validating program logic. Annotation help in documentation and tracking changes in the code over its life cycle. Provide metadata about the program with affecting execution, useful for maintaining meaningful comments and versioning. Exception handling, one of the key features that make Java robust. Okay, provide a structured way to handle error during program execution. Covers various type of exceptions hierarchy, difference between runtime and checked exceptions, ability to define custom exceptions. Again, assertion, validate logic, annotation, documents and manage code metadata, exception handling, manage runtime error gracefully. Assertions and their use in Java. Assertion are a statement used to verify assumption. Assumption used to verify assumptions in code during development and testing. Analogy, like a proofreader checks the error before printing. Assertion check for logical error in the program before production. Key points about Java assertion: purpose, detect bug and unreachable code in production environment, helps ensure that extraordinary condition trigger an error early. Behavior क्या है, assertion are displayed by Java default in Java, must be explicitly enabled to work. When triggered, they throw an assertion error. Only a custom message can be displayed. Uses handily for testing and debugging during development, not recommended in production system. Uniqueness, the only Java keyword ignored by default in runtime. Java enable for ये क्या है, EA disable assertion, enable assertion. When to use assertion: to test condition that should never occur in code is correct, the temporary checks during development. When not to use assertion: for normal error handling, for conditions that may occur in production environments. Assertion, development time, safety check, disable in production, trigger assertions only if bug and extraordinary condition occurs. Enabling and disabling assertion in Java. Purpose of assertion: check assumptions made in code during. Enable and disabling assertion in Java: check assumptions made in code during development and testing. Trigger an assertion error if the assumption is false. Helps check impossible or extraordinary condition before production. Syntax क्या होगा, assert कुछ यूज होगा, assert कीवर्ड लग के यूज होगा. Assertion, developing, testing checks, if not production can optionally display a message. Enabling and disabling assertion. Enable assertion, Java EA DA variation of enabling Java. EA enable assertion. EA enable all classes of main program. Demo classes assertion in demo classes. And EN है कुछ assertion code. ठीक है, देखते हैं कि assertion validate assumptions and runtime messages in assertion help identify the exact issue. Assertion are enabled via GVM flags. Check assumption, verify the programmer assumptions about the code or correct private method. Pass argument to private method and validate them during testing. Condition checks. Evaluate specific condition that should always hold true. Method entry checks validate condition at the beginning of a method. Significance of performance. Assertion helps detect issue early during development. They are ignored in production, so they do not affect runtime performance. Key idea: assertion development testing safety tool to catch logical error without affecting production performance. Okay, next, significance of assertions on performance. Developers sometimes use conditional statement for debugging and forget to remove them later. If such debugging condition stay in the final code, they still execute in the production, wasting CPU cycle and causing performance issue. Removing this temporary condition later becomes tedious rework involving multiple teams. But with assertion, there is no such program because assertions are disabled by default at runtime. When disabled, they do not execute all time. They save processor time, avoids performance. So assertion helps debugging without affecting production performance. Where to use assertion? To ensure some code is really unreachable. For private method to check internal assumption. Where to use assertion? To ensure some code is really unreachable. For private method to check internal assumption. In condition checks at the beginning of a method. To confirm default switch case is never reached. To ensure assumption in customer are true. To check object state before and after a method execute. Where not to use assertion? Not as a replacement for error, not for public method argument, not for command line argument, not for user input. assertion यूज नहीं करना है. Assertion and exception handling. Assertion used for logically impossible condition, used for real possible errors, usually disabled at runtime, always active at runtime. For testing assumptions, for handling rare error. Typical assert use cases: unreachable code, documenting assumption. Annotation क्या है? Concepts. Annotation in Java. Metadata about your code. Metadata is like extra node or tag that about something without changing it. Real life analogy. Imagine a library book. The book itself, the code program, a sticky note on the book, and the annotation. Metadata about the code. The note might say, "Do not lend this book to kids similar to deprecated. Check grammar before publishing." Metadata and is something like the note does not change the book, it just gives extra information for the reader or librarian. Why is it useful? Without annotation, you might have to read the whole book carefully each time, lots of comment in code. With annotation, you instantly get into the code unit, compile, do error, program, etc. Remember it. Sticky note annotation. Book is a code library and compile tool. Java, another program reading metadata. Message, extra info, warning or instruction. Think of it as annotation are likely sticky note on your code telling the compiler or other developer what to do or notice without changing the actual code itself. Built-in annotation concept. Built-in annotation like pre-made sticky note Java already provide. They tell the compiler or tool what to exact or check in your code. Two categories: annotation for Java code directly, override, express warning, deprecated. Annotation for other override. Example scenario: you have a parent method and the child method should survive it. You make a typo like eat something instead of eat something instead, like problem typo, lower case and case sensitive kind of Without override, compiles thing is at new no error. With override, compile checks and throw an error if not actually overriding. Real life analogy: parent method, original recipe in a cookbook. Your version of the recipe. रिमेंबर इट ओवरराइट स्टिकी नोट होने तो याद कर सकते हैं. आगे बढ़ते हैं. यहाँ पे रियल लाइफ सुपर क्लास मेथड जनरेट्स वायरस टेस्ट. सब क्लास मेथड कोविड स्पेसिफिक टेस्ट. कुछ एनालॉजी दे रखा है यहाँ पे. एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग देखते हैं. What is an exception? A problem that occurs while program is running. Example in Java: user invalid input, file not found, network connection lost, JVM runs on memory. Imagine you are driving a car, suddenly a rock falls on the road, you don't react, car crashes. Exceptional handling: braking or surviving safely. Why handle exception without handling program? What is exception? A program that occurs while a program is running. User enters invalid input, file not found, network lost, JVM runs. Imagine you are driving a car, suddenly a rock falls on the road. If you don't react, the car crashes. Exceptional handling: braking or swerving safely. Why handle exception without handling program? Abruptly stopped. With handling program, gracefully recover and inform the user. Car hits a rock, no brake, crash, brake applied, avoid crash safely. Difference between error and exceptional feature: error can remove a no, exception yes, checked, unlocked, unchecked, check or unchecked. Cause environment, JVM application. Runtime only, compile time or runtime. Engine exploded, cannot fix on the spot. Exception: flat tire, you can change it. Error: engine explode, cannot fix. Or exceptional: flat tire, you can change it and continue. Java exception hierarchy: root cause throwable, two main branches. Exceptional error: this program should catch. How JVM handles exception. Whenever a method encounters exception in Java, create an exception object. This object contains name of the exceptional, description of what went wrong, state of program at the moment the exception occurs. Throwing an exception: the process of creating the exception object and passing it to the runtime system called a throwing exception. This can happen automatically by JVM manually through keyword. Handling exception: exception का handle कैसे कर सकते हैं? Try, catch and finally. Once throw exception can be caught and handled using try. Code that might throw exception. Code to handle the exception. Code that run regardless of exception. Throw: sending a distress signal. Catch: using a handle program. Finally cleaning the throw: sending a distress signal. Catch: rescuing or handling the problem. Finally cleaning. Exceptional classes and subclass. Throwable: the parent class or exception class for error that can be handled by your program. Error class for system level that cannot be handled. Checked exception definition: exception that occur at compile time. Compiler checks them when you compile the code. Must be handled. Try, catch से. Definition: exception that occur in runtime, not check and compile time. Code that might throw an exception. Catch the exception, rest, continue the check compile time, uncheck runtime, try and gracefully handle exception. Using try, catch and finally method to handle exception. The problem: diving a number by 0 in Java class by arithmetic exception. Using try, catch and finally to handle exception. Without handling, the program terminates abruptly. Using try and catch try block, write the code that may throw an exception. Handles the exception if it occurs. The program does not terminate abruptly. Adding finally. The finally block is always executed whenever exception occurs or not. Finally always executed whenever this occur or not. Yes, useful for cleanup task. Try puts risky code. Catch handle. Finally execute always used for cleanup. Throw explicitly throws an exception. Declares a method may throw exception. Inside a method, the method signature. Actually throws the exception in throws. Declare that the method may throw. Declare that the method may throw inside method single exception throws in method signature can list multiple. Hello. So we are now close to the ending. Finally versus, okay, so ये भी important है. Finally versus finally, finally and finalize. Type keyword. A final class cannot be inherited. A final method cannot be overridden. A final variable cannot be changed. A final variable cannot be changed. ठीक है, तो इसको यहीं पे ख़त्म करते हैं. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, इसको एग्ज़ाम से पहले एक बार रिवीजन भी कर लेंगे.